Hello Year 7, welcome back. It's been a while since I've done a flip learning for you. Anyway, we're going to talk today really about revision. We're going to be talking about revision of something that we did way back when in October, November. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that just to remind ourselves, because when you come in to your next lesson on Tuesday, we're going to be writing newspaper articles. So I just want us to be 100% clear about what I expect from a newspaper article. Now I know some of you have got that in your old books, in your old exercise books, but a lot of you will have moved on to a new book, and so if we don't go over it now, we'll have to spend an awful lot of time going over it in the lesson, and I'd rather just do it quite quickly now. Okay, so in your new exercise books, the ones that you used just now, okay, what I would like you to do is just note down the key points that I will expect from you when we write our newspaper articles next lesson. Okay, let's start at the top, shall we? A good newspaper article, well, a good newspaper article starts with a headline that is catchy and short and interests you in the story. Now, even though the E has been rubbed off there, it's still valid. Interests you in the story, so you have to come up with a headline that grabs our attention. Because if we don't have a good headline, we're not going to watch it. We're not going to read it. Okay, so catchy, short, interests you in the story. That's where we start out. So I want to see a headline that reflects those things in your writing. Okay? The second thing about a newspaper article is it's written in columns. Now I will give you the columns, so you don't have to worry about whether it's going to be in the right format. But we do have to remember that it's written in columns. Okay? Because when we read a newspaper, it's one of the things that identifies it, that it's written in columns. Indeed, a lot of your textbooks are written in columns too. But certainly a newspaper article should be in columns. Okay? Unless told otherwise, when you get into year 10 and 11, we'll stop doing columns. But for now, we want them. Okay? Next up, of course, you've been waiting for all this time, the 5 W's. A newspaper article should answer these 5 W's. Now, quick heads up, we're going to be writing a newspaper article about the murder of Mr. Maloney. Okay? It's going to be all about the murder of Mr. Maloney. So, in your newspaper article, I will want to know who was killed, who's investigating the crime, okay? Who else is involved? When did it happen? Okay? Now remember, with crime reporting, we need to be as exact as we humanly can be. Okay? So when is very important. I don't want any nonsense about it happened on a Thursday. I want exact details. Okay? Where did it happen? Where exactly? Not just in the house, where in the house. Okay? And what actually happened, the detail. Newspaper articles, the best journalists are the ones that have the details. So the what. Last of all, of course, though, is the why. Why did it happen? Why was Mr. Maloney murdered? Do we know? Okay, now we'll talk more in the lesson about that, so don't worry about it. But obviously, for a newspaper article to be truly satisfying, we must know the why. Why did this thing happen? Okay, all right, next up. This is just good writing. It's not about newspaper articles, it's just good writing. Tip top. Every single piece of writing you ever write now, I want you to be thinking to yourself, I'm going to write it in paragraphs. Even if it's just notes. Even if I say, do a private reading for half an hour and write some notes about it. And you're writing some notes, I want you to think about paragraphing. If you change time, if you change person, if you change topic, or if you change place, then you need a new paragraph. In terms of our newspaper article, of course. If you're going from writing about Mrs. Maloney being in the house to Mrs. Maloney going to see Sam, I would expect a new paragraph. Seems fair. Okay? Newspaper articles have formal language. Okay? None of this can't nonsense. We want cannot. Okay? No slang. Absolutely none. Unless, of course, it's during direct speech, which we'll come to in a moment. But I really don't want slang. What I want instead is I want sophisticated language, okay? And sophisticated language is something else I'm going to come back to before the end, okay? Interviews. If you're interviewing, I want to see direct speech rules. Now, I'm horrified rather to see that some of this is rubbed off, which is annoying, but let me just talk you through it. Speech marks go around everything spoken. Capital letter at the start, I know that's I, but even down here, before it was rubbed off, that was a capital H. Capital letter to start your direct speech. You should always need to put a comma either to close your direct speech before you put your speech marks, before you're closing your direct speech, or before you open your direct speech. This bit of punctuation, this bit is the one that's done worst, and this is the one I want to see done correctly this time. Don't forget, before you close your direct speech, like I said before, you need punctuation. Okay, direct speech rules. There's another video all about direct speech rules if you're really fancying going along YouTube, you know, and raising my views, because I don't really have very many. Okay, sophisticated vocabulary. It just means good vocabulary, doesn't it? Of course it does. But we're doing a news article about a murder. So there are certain words that I would expect you to use. For example, here's just a few. If I was writing a newspaper article about a murder, I would expect to see words like victim, crime, murder, innocent, guilty, potentially judge, depending on how far the investigation's got. Investigation, that is none here, it's another one. Evidence, massive one. And where am I? Motive and alibi. These are the types of words that I'd expect to see. They show that you understand the genre with which you're writing. Okay? The more sophisticated you can be, and it's not just about using big long words, it's about using the appropriate words for your subject. Crime story, I expect to see these types of words. And lastly, for a newspaper article to be fully successful, I'd expect to see a picture. Now, I'm the worst artist in the world, okay? This is a picture of Mr. Maloney. This is a picture of a policeman with his notebook investigating, okay? His legs are kind of squint because obviously he's fallen down dead. It's not a very nice picture when I think about it. I'd also expect a caption to explain this picture because this picture is rubbish and therefore it needs an explanation. So a picture and a caption would be the last thing that I'd be expecting in a newspaper article, okay? So, there we have it. I'm not going to run through it all again. You probably remember it. I expect when you come in on Tuesday to have some notes taken from this video, just reminding you of all the different success criteria of a newspaper article. Deal? Good. I think our word to show that you've reached right to the end should be coolio. Okay? Coolio. It's not really a word, it's just a word I say a lot. Okay? Coolio. Alright, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.